Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world. So, just a very quick video actually, because day 23 in the mushroom murder trial. Today's Friday. You know, in this trial that's now gone on for 5 weeks. Fridays are always a day where you can see that the court, the judge, the defense, probably the prosecution, they all like to get off early, don't they? There's never much happens on a Friday. So anyway, that was what was happening. It's Friday, or it was Friday in Australia. So little reminder of what's going on. These four people up in the corner there, Don, Gail, Heather and Ian, were all allegedly poisoned with death cap mushrooms. These mushrooms, when I find them, that were put in, allegedly, in a beef Wellington prepared by this lady, Erin Patterson, their in-law. And there's a full playlist below. So if you want to catch up from day one, I mean, there's too much to recap on because, as I say, this has been now 5 weeks of this trial. This lady, Erin Patterson, allegedly deliberately poisoned these people out of spite, really. But one of them survived, Ian Wilkinson. He survived after a liver transplant and after having been very seriously ill. So this is the trial now of Erin. Did she do it? Did she do? And if she did put these mushrooms in the beef Wellington, did she do it on purpose? This is the question, isn't it? So I think it's pretty much accepted because of evidence that, as I say, is in the playlist, that death cap mushrooms were served to these people. The question is, was it a terrible accident, terrible mistake, or did Erin deliberately try to kill her in-laws that allegedly she's had problems with and had got, although they used to have a good relationship, the relationship had become increasingly strained for various reasons that you can find out in the playlist. 22 days in that playlist, so it's too much for me to go over everything now, but it's all there in the playlist. If you feel like if it's raining this weekend and you feel like a little bit of a binge watch, to find out exactly what happened from day one. We've heard from all sorts of expert testimony, etc. And we found out a lot about mushrooms. We found out a lot about phone data. We found out a lot about all sorts of things. So it's going into the 6th week. A bit of a spoiler. We were hoping that at least the prosecution evidence might get finished, but I don't think that's exactly happened. So let's have a look at what did happen today or last night. In Australia, of course, this is, so it's different time zone. So now the latest thing we'd heard was we'd heard about yesterday the defense was questioning the police, and they were casting aspersions on the police's, how can I put it, on their methods, that saying they didn't do their investigation properly, etc., etc. So, that's where we were. So this good morning from inside courtroom 4 as the 5th week of the Erin Patterson trial comes to an end. So just a reminder, it's not a televised trial, but the media are allowed to be there to report on what happens. And that's where we're getting our information from. It's difficult because we're not getting the information firsthand, but it's better than nothing. At least the media are allowed to report on the information. They're just not allowed to show photos or video or anything like that, but they're allowed to report on what happens, and that's where we're getting our information from. So Miss Patterson is in the court dock, dressed in a navy top with white polka dots. All the seats in the courtroom are full today. So all these people that have gone, it has been a full-on week of testimony. Some of the weeks have been like they've missed a day or there's been short days. This week up to now has been full on, hasn't it? But today, Fridays are always short because they obviously want to get off for their weekend. So all the seats in the courtroom are full today. This has been the standard for most of this case. This morning, members of the public were queuing up outside the court from before 8 a.m. An interest in this case only seems to be building. And the jury is in the room after about an hour of legal discussion. There's been a lot of legal discussion as well. So quite often the poor jury, they're hanging around. And not only that, the people that are there that are directly involved with this case, there's been a lot of hanging around. Anyway, so Justice Beale said, we've been dealing with an issue. It's an ongoing issue. It's nobody's fault, but that issue won't be able to be sorted out until Monday. So having said that, there was some evidence given all the same. So that was Justice Beale. This is the judge in this case. Let's just have a look at him. He's quite a young guy, I think, for a judge. Don't know, just always assume judges will be older. That's him. This is the judge in this case. Take my banner off, actually. Where am I? Yeah. So that's him. That's the judge. So back in the witness box is the Victoria Police Detective Stephen Eppinstall, and he's getting more cross-examination from Erin Patterson's barrister Colin Mandy. And of course, Mr. Mandy is, I think he's the chief. I mean, we've seen a couple of prosecution people. The other one, I think her name's Sophie, she stands in for him when he's not there. But this week he's been there every day. This week he's been there every day to deal with this case. So he seems to be sort of ramping up the pressure. He's very keen to discredit the police investigation because, to be brutally honest, that is all he's got. This woman hasn't really got much defence, but it'd be interesting to see what he does come up with for the defence. His defence so far just seems to be discrediting the police. But we'll see next week when the prosecution finally rests and the defence, gives their case. Are they going to call Erin as a witness? This is a big question we've got. He's back in the witness box for more cross-examination from Colin Mandy. And the judge says the evidence today might only run for half an hour, and thanks the jury for their patience. Imagine if you'd queued up as well all morning. Then you get in there and they say, we're just doing half an hour. That's the thing with court cases. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they don't have to run to everybody else's convenience, do they? But anyway. So we return to signal messages from the Patterson family. Mr. Mandy continues where he left off on Thursday afternoon, taking Mr. Eppinstall through messages from the app Signal. And the messages date back to February 2022. Earlier in the trial, we heard that Erin, Simon, Don, and Gail Patterson were in a group chat together on Signal and discussed issues such as child support on it. And Simon Patterson, so this is Erin's estranged husband. For anyone who doesn't know, let's have a look at a photo of him. This is Erin's estranged husband, Simon. And it's his mum and dad, Don and Gail on the left here, and Gail's sister, so Simon's auntie, and her husband that all went to that lunch. And Simon, her estranged husband, he of course was invited also, but luckily for him, he decided not to go to the lunch, though there are thoughts that she may have tried to kill him on other occasions, but those charges have been dropped and the prosecution are concentrating on the charges against Erin for the deliberate poisoning of these 4 unfortunate people. But Ian survived. Ian on the right hand side, he actually gave testimony. He's fit and well now, physically anyway, and he did give testimony. So back to it. Simon Patterson told the court his mother eventually stopped looking at messages from Erin due to the anxiety that it caused her. And the February 2022 messages detail an exchange between Erin and Don Patterson dealing with the Patterson children's schooling. And previously in the trial, the defence had stressed the close relationship between Erin Patterson's children and their grandparents, and had played a video of Don Patterson conducting science experiments with his grandson. And if you don't know, if you remember, that was earlier in the trial, but apparently Erin started smiling when she was watching that video, as if it brought back fond memories to her. So further messages discuss Erin dealing with the effects of COVID-19, with Don checking in on her. So it seems like, they really cared about Erin when she was lying about having cancer, saying that she was going to have a biopsy when she wasn't, saying that she had to have an MRI when she didn't. These are things that have been proven during this trial. She is a proven liar. Whether she tried to kill these people or not, that's for the jury to decide. But I think it has been established quite clearly that she is a liar. And not only that, she actually lied about having cancer. So messages dating to May 2022 are now exhibited by the defence. Happy Mother's Day to the best mum-in-law anyone could ever ask for. One message from Erin to Gail Patterson reads. Now, she wasn't speaking very kindly about them in her Facebook groups. But anyway, it does seem that at some point she did have a good relationship with them. Something seemed to go wrong in that year leading up to this event. So the defence turns its focus to the SIM cards alleged to have been used by Erin. There's evidence that the 835 SIM card goes into what's been referred to as phone B, and there's been a factory reset of that phone, Mr. Mandy tells the court. And during the trial, remember, we heard that the prosecution said Erin had 2 SIM cards, and the prosecution argued that she used 2 phones, phone A and phone B, one of which they allege they have never found. And Mr. Mandy says that following a factory reset, there would be no personal data left on phone B, and Mr. Eppinstall agrees. So yeah, there's a missing phone. There's so many questions in this case. Where's the missing phone? Why were death cap mushrooms found in the dehydrator that Erin dumped? Why did Erin tell the police at first she didn't have a dehydrator and she'd never had one? But it turned out that she actually had, and she dumped it, and it had traces of death cap mushrooms in it. There's more sort of questions, if you like. Why did Erin only stay 5 minutes at the hospital, even though she was told she could potentially be fatally ill, that she may need a liver transplant? Why did she not take her children, or why was she reluctant to take her children to the hospital, even though she'd been told that the other people were suffering from death cap mushroom poisoning? She didn't want to take her children to the hospital, even though they'd eaten the leftovers. Why were the guests served on grey plates? Where are those grey plates? whereas Erin was served herself on a different colour, different sized plate. This is testimony given by the survivor, and if she has done it, did she mean to do it, or was it an accident? Did she just want to make the meal and she went too far? These are the questions. Why did she do it is a big thing, but it seems to me, I think she did it out of spite, if she did it. And then that was it. The proceedings drew to a close with more legal discussions needed before it can continue. So the judge adjourned the court for the day. Literally, people will have queued up just to hear 30 minutes testimony. Another day gone. And so we will be going into the 6th week. So at the beginning of this trial, 6 weeks were allocated for this trial. But then quite early on, the judge said that he thought it might not take as long as that they might be able to condense it a bit. Well, that hasn't happened. It's going into the 6th week, and the prosecution haven't even closed yet. So the prosecution have got to close, the defence has got to speak, then the jury will start deliberating, and then it's just a question, what do the jury make of it all? What do they make of all this evidence? So we've gone through the evidence, we've looked at it. The overwhelming thought, from the polls that I've done on my channel, are that Erin is probably guilty, though some people aren't sure, and some people say not guilty, but not many. So if you want to make a decision on that, have a look at the playlist, see what you think from all the evidence presented so far. So they keep saying this trial is nearing its end, but then these legal matters come up, and won't be anything till Monday now. So we've got time to chew it over. And I mean, I'm not sure where Erin is in this meantime, if she's at home or if she's in prison. I don't know. In fact, I'll just check that before I go. Yeah, she's on bail. So she will have been able to make bail. She's quite a wealthy woman, from what we can gather. She was left a lot of money in inheritance, which again, we think which apparently she was quite generous with Simon's relatives, so maybe she felt like they weren't grateful enough. I don't know. There's something's definitely gone wrong. And it all seemed to start when Simon, on his tax form, this was his testimony early on in the trial, on his tax form, he put that he was separated, which he is. But Erin was really angry about that, even though, it seems to be that she's, quite happy that they're separated. I personally think Erin is a control freak. So it's just like, she didn't like the fact he said he was separated without running it past her first. She said it affected her credits or this, that, some sort of benefit she gets. I don't know the ins and outs of the Australian system, but that's where it all seemed to go wrong. And that's when she started accusing Simon, of coercive control and, practically slagging him off in her Facebook group. And then all the Facebook group was sort of supporting her, we've heard those texts, etc. So, but before that, it seems like they all did have a good relationship. So what went wrong? But anyway, so I just thought I'd let you know that, a quick video just to let you know what's happened. Not much, basically, on day 23. So we'll be back to talk about this case on Monday. So don't forget to like, please, to subscribe. And then, of course, press your notifications and press all notifications, because definitely on Monday I'll be back with the next installment on this murder trial that sort of fascinated all of us I think it's just the very strangeness of it all, isn't it? It's not often that people, well, it probably is often that people kill people by poisoning, but it's not often that it gets found out like this. The hospital did really well to establish the cause of of those people's illnesses. They died. I think we always have to remember as well, these people that she poisoned, allegedly, if she's found guilty, it's an absolutely horrible crime, because not only she sat there and watched them eat every mouthful, knowing, if she's guilty, knowing that she was poisoning them, she sat there and watched them eat. And then she lied to them and said she had cancer, and then they all prayed for her at the end of the lunch. So it's quite an extraordinary case, isn't it, in its callousness. So yeah, don't forget to press your notifications. So have a good weekend. I'll see you on Monday. As far as this case is concerned, I'll be back with other cases. And until I see you again, may your God, of course, go with you as always.